Hi guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing another recommendation style video where all the books that I'm going to be talking about today involve messy families. And if you guys have been with me for a while, you know that I love to read anything that has to do with any sort of mess. And so I've already done a video like this before where all the books that I've talked about involved like messy friendships or toxic friendships. So I will leave that video linked up above and down below in my description bar in case you guys are interested. So like I said, all the books that I'm going to be talking about today involve messy families. And so these families are essential to the story or the overall plot. And all of these families involve a lot of drama. And so the 5 books that I'm going to be talking about today, they are all like adult mysteries. One of them is a psychological mystery. And so 2 of the books involve really big families. One of them involves a brother-sister relationship and then how that relationships affect other relationships that they have. And then one of the books involves a mother-daughter relationship and again, how their relationship affects other relationships that they have. And then the last book that I'm going to talk about involves like 2 couples and then their families and how when those families come together, how their like families affect each other. And so with that being said, we are going to go ahead and get started. So the first book that I have here is Not a Happy Family by Sherry Lapina. This is a adult mystery. And so this one just follows these 3 siblings. We have Dan, Jenna, and Catherine. And they are the prime suspects for their parents' murder. And the reason why they are the prime suspects for their parents' murder is because if their parents are no longer alive, then these 3 siblings are set to inherit a lot of money. And so we are basically just following these 3 siblings as these detectives are trying to figure out which one of them is the one that actually murdered their parents. And so over the course of the story, we learn the different motivations that each of these siblings would have had to have murdered their parents. And so before this story starts, their parents are alive and all of these children had went to their parents' house for Easter dinner. And this is where you really start to learn some of their motivations that they would have had to have murdered their parents. And let me tell you, at this Easter dinner, it was drama filled, and that is where you really start to learn about a lot of these characters. So at this dinner, you find out that one of these children was being financially supported by the father, and the father had decided that they were no longer going to support them, so he was cutting them off. So right there, one of these children is no longer happy about that. Then the parents let these children know that they will be selling their home because they are trying to downsize. I believe the father is now trying to retire from the business that he was running. This makes one of the other children upset because they were trying to eventually live in this house. And so they were like devastated when they found out that their parents were going to sell the house. So now you have another upset child. So then another one of the children was not doing so well financially and had went to their father to try to ask for some financial support, and the father immediately told them no. And so now you have all 3 of these children upset at their parents because essentially their parents is telling them no about something that they need or something that they were getting and they were no longer getting from their parents. And so the next day is when their parents were found murdered. So clearly there is motivation for all 3 of these children to have murdered their parents. And this had happened all in one evening. Also, one of my favorite scenes in this whole entire book happened at this Easter dinner. And I'm just gonna kind of give you a rundown. I don't necessarily think it's a spoiler because it happened within like the first couple of chapters, but they were at Easter dinner and their father was at the table and he literally went around the table and basically told each of his children why he did not care for them. And my mouth was hanging open when he was talking to his children like that. And it was at that moment that I did not have any sort of sympathy for this man. And when we found out that he was dead the next day, I was like, good. Because the way that he was talking to his children was insane. And I did not mean to laugh during this whole ordeal at this dinner table, but it was like one of the funniest things that I've seen, because the fact that they sat there, let him talk to them like that was crazy to me. It was at that moment that I knew that I was not going to be able to put this book down. And let me tell you, I was not able to put this book down. So, like I said, throughout this book, we are just following these kids at, well, not kids, they're grown, they're adults. We are following these police as they are, interviewing these children. We are learning a lot about this family. There are some secrets that are revealed about this family, even some things that these children didn't know. And so you get some backstory into the parents and why they were making decisions that they were making, even though they were making the children upset. And so I ultimately ended up enjoying this one overall. I gave it a 4 stars because I of course, I was here for the mess. I loved all the drama within this family. I liked all of the secrets that were revealed throughout this book, all of the twists and turns. But the reason why I did not give this a 5 stars as much as I wanted to is because I did not really care about the ending. And when it was revealed who committed the murders, I wish that it would have been someone else, and I wish that it just did not end the way that it ended. I think some people were okay with the ending, but I didn't really care for it. But everything leading up to that, I was actually here for it. I would still recommend this one. Like I said, I loved all the drama and all the secrets within this family. This was like a page turner. I love this one. And if you are like me and you love the mess, especially within a family, this would be the book for you. So then the next one that I have here that sort of involves like a bigger family, we have Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. This is another adult mystery. And so this one involves this family that is getting together for their Nana's 80th birthday party at like this secluded house. And so at like the stroke of midnight, their Nana is discovered dead. And then every hour after that, another person is discovered dead. And so throughout this story, in between people being discovered dead, we are learning some secrets about this family. And let me tell you, there are some secrets about this family. And so, besides Nana that's there, we have these 3 sisters. We have Lily, Rose, and Daisy. And then we have their parents, Frank and Nancy. And then we have this little girl by the name of Trixie, who is Lily's daughter. And then we have their family friend, Connor. So they're all in this house. And so, in between people dying, we are getting these videotapes of these like home movies of what it was like in the sisters past. And we are seeing how the youngest sister, Daisy, was being treated by her older siblings. And so we kind of get some insight into how everybody was treating little Daisy. And let's just say that she was not treated the best. And so we get some insight into that. But then while they're trying to figure out what exactly is going on in the house and why people are dying, you kind of see how they're treating each other in the present day, and they're not really nice to each other now. And so you can kind of tell that this family is a bit of a mess. And then you're also just wondering, why is everybody treating Daisy like this? And then you also kind of wonder why there was a little bit of favoritism from their Nana to Daisy, because at the beginning of this, she was reading off her will, and she was kind of obviously giving certain things to certain people, and it seemed like Daisy kind of got the better end of the deal than everybody else. And so you just really get a lot of insight of what was going on with this family in between everybody dying. So this family, let me tell you, is a hot mess. And I ended up rating this one a 4 stars. I really enjoyed like the overall twist at the end of this. From listening to other people's reviews of this book, it seemed to work for some people, didn't seem to work for other people. Some people were able to figure it out. Other people were not. I was not able to figure it out. I feel like this is one of those books that I would like to go back to read to see if I would be able to pick it up now that I know what's going on, because I did not see that coming. But I really enjoyed the twist. I really enjoyed the flashbacks and how they were done with learning about what was going on with Daisy and how her family was treating her, because her family was not nice. I did not like her sisters. I listen. I did not like a lot of the characters in here, and when people started dying again, when there was another death, I was just like, good. And like I said, I just really enjoyed the final reveal. The reason why this just didn't get a 5 stars from me is because it did take a little while for me to fully get into it. And had it just grabbed me right from the start, I think this could have been a 5 stars. But besides that, again, this is another one that I would highly recommend, especially from Alice Feeney. I think this was the second Alice Feeney that I read. The first one that I read from her was Rock Paper Scissors, and this one I liked over Rock Paper Scissors. So so far, my favorite Alice Feeney. So the next book that I have here that deals more with that mother-daughter relationship is Darling Rose Gold by Stephanie Roble. This is another adult mystery. And so this one deals with two main characters. So we have Patty, who at the beginning of the story has just finished serving a 5-year prison sentence for purposely making her daughter Rose Gold sick. And she had been doing that for 18 years. And so at the beginning of this, like I said, she had just gotten done serving a prison sentence. And so Rose Gold has decided that she has forgiven her mother, and she has decided to allow her mother to stay with her. But unbeknownst to Patty, Rose Gold has been plotting her revenge. And so we are following them as they are trying to rebuild their relationship as mother and daughter. But Rose Gold is actually really trying to enact her revenge against her mother, Patty. If you don't know, or if you haven't heard, this takes a lot of inspiration from that true crime case of Dee Dee and Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I mentioned that in my actual review that I did for this when I first read it at the beginning of this year. But yeah, it takes a lot of inspiration from that true crime case. This deals a lot with looking into their relationship, Patty and Rose Gold, because Patty, like I said, was purposely making her daughter sick, and she was feeding her a lot of medicine that was making Rose Gold sick. So she was vomiting a lot, which causes a lot of other health issues that she shouldn't have had. Her teeth was rotting. She was making her wear glasses. She was in a wheelchair that she didn't need to be in. She was causing Rose Gold to have a lot of medical issues that she otherwise would not have had. And so she, like I said, ended up going to prison. Because Patty was doing all of that to Rose Gold, she actually was getting a lot of sympathy from a lot of people, because having this young child that was very sickly and she was in and out of the hospital, she was getting a lot of sympathy from like their neighbors and then the people at the hospital. And so even though Rose Gold was the one that was ultimately suffering from this, Patty was the one that was sort of reaping the benefits from this. And so we see that Patty is the one that is really manipulative. This book is kind of told in like two different timelines. So we see the present timeline of once Patty is released and how they are trying to navigate their relationship once she's released, and how Rose Gold is trying to carry out her revenge. But we also see a past timeline and what Rose Gold was doing while her mother was in jail. And so when her mother was in jail, Rose Gold got reunited with her father, because while Patty was making Rose Gold sick all those years, it was just Patty and Rose Gold. Her father was nowhere around. We do get some backstory on that and why that was the case, but Rose Gold does end up being with her father, and we see that the same tendencies that Patty had with Rose Gold, those things actually rubbed off on Rose Gold, and she started having those same manipulative ways. And those came out when she was spending that time with her father and her father's family. And so we got to see how she was with her father, and we find out that her father has his own family and how she was with them. And we also see how Rose Gold interacts with like her own friends, even though her friends weren't the nicest to her. You see that Rose Gold also isn't the nicest person either. And you have to kind of wonder, is she not the nicest because people aren't nice to her, or is it she's not nice because she's just literally like her mother? So these people got some issues that they actually probably should talk to somebody about. Rose Gold is in therapy, obviously, as she should be, because she's been through a lot of traumatic things dealing with her mother. But she still has some things that she needs to work out. And the things that she has experienced in her life and just being around her mother has, rubbed off on her, and they are having effects in her other relationships that she's trying to have with other people. So yeah, so they are a bit of a mess. The two of them are a mess together, and the two of them are a mess when they are trying to interact with other people. So overall though, I ended up giving this one a 3 stars. I liked the timeline, seeing what happened when Patty and Rose Gold are reunited and they are trying to rebuild their relationship, and then seeing what Rose Gold gets up to when she is waiting for her mother's release, and seeing how she is like trying to get her life back on track, especially after dealing with the things that she has dealt with, and then trying to build like relationships with her father and her friends, and then trying to start her life over. I really liked seeing all that, but overall I just thought that this story was okay. But I think that seeing this mother-daughter relationship was very interesting. And if you are very familiar with, like I said, that true crime case of Dee Dee and Gypsy Rose Blanchard, seeing the twist of this was very interesting. And I think if you are interested in that, I think you should check this out. So then this next one that I have, this is the one where I mentioned it deals more with a brother-sister relationship. And so this is a Flaw in the Design by Nathan Oates. And this is a adult psychological mystery. This is one that I have recently read. And so this one follows our main character, Gil. He learns that his sister Sharon and her husband have recently died in a car accident. And so he has to take in his nephew, Matthew, which he is very hesitant to do so. But him and his wife go ahead and agree to take him in. And Gil learns that Matthew may have had something to do with Gil's sister Sharon's death. This one is very slow, and I mentioned that in my review of this one. And not a lot happens because we are just following Matthew and Gil as they are basically walking on, well, let me say, Gil is basically walking on eggshells around Matthew, because we slowly learn through like these flashback chapters that Gil and Sharon, they started off really close with each other, but over the years when they started going to like college, they weren't as close with each other anymore, and it almost was like Gil became really jealous of Sharon and her lifestyle. She ended up marrying this guy who had a lot of money. They were really well off. They lived in New York at the time, and Gil was really not feeling it. He thought his sister became kind of like uppity and bougie. And then they had Matthew, and Matthew was a really unruly child. Sharon could never really keep control over him. And Gil and Sharon just had a rift in their relationship, and it really kind of hurt Gil's feelings because, like I said, at one time they were really close, and now they're not as close anymore. And he's just kind of jealous of his sister. And so there was an incident that took place between Gil's youngest daughter, and Matthew. And ever since that incident happened, Gil, and his sister Sharon, that was like the nail in the coffin, and they just hadn't really ever spoken. And it was because Sharon just took the side of her son, Matthew. Now, you would think that, of course, she would take the side of her son. But once you hear what that incident was, once you learn what it was, And once you really learn how Matthew was as a child, you would start to question whether or not that was the right decision for her to just take the side of her child. And so Matthew was kind of the one that was the center of all of this family drama. And so when he ended up staying with Gil, after his parents died, he kind of started to create this sort of like chaos in Gil's home. Gil started to kind of become paranoid in his own home because he just felt like he had to watch his back around Matthew because, he doesn't really know for sure if Matthew has something to do with Sharon's death. Matthew ended up taking a creative writing class, which is the class that Gil taught. And he started kind of taunting him with like these stories of predicting the death of Gil's daughters. And so Gil is just like, what is going on? And so Matthew was trying to be like really sweet around everybody else, but then making these like little comments to Gil, but Gil can't tell anybody because, of course, by the time he's getting ready to tell somebody or show somebody what Matthew's doing, uh, he's not doing it anymore. So, Gil is like super paranoid. And then Gil has an older daughter who I think is like 14, 15, somewhere in there, like preteen age. And Matthew is starting to have an effect on her to where she's kind of starting to act out. So Matthew is causing this chaos within Gil's home. And so we are just following Gil as he is like on this downward spiral of trying to figure out if Matthew has something to do with Sharon's death while trying to keep his cool at home, trying to keep his cool at school in the classroom and not flip out on Matthew. And I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed learning the ins and outs of Gil and Sharon's relationship, learning about Matthew. At a certain point, you do get these chapters from Matthew's perspective and what's going on in his head, because primarily we are following Gil and what's going on in his head. So I really love the slow burn of this and just taking our time and really learning about these characters and the relationship between Gil and Sharon. And like I said, it's really slow. I don't think this will be for everybody, but I think if you are a character driven reader, this might work for you. I ultimately gave this a 4 stars. I probably would have given it a 5 if I didn't think some parts were super slow. I think some of the flashback scenes didn't quite hold my attention as much as I would have wanted it to, but if they did, this definitely would have been a 5 stars. This kind of reminded me of like those old school Lifetime movies. And the whole time that I listened to this on audio, I kept thinking Lifetime movies, and I used to love those old school Lifetime movies. And this just did it for me, and it's definitely one of those books that kind of stuck with me. I love the ending of this and how it ended. I almost want like a part 2 to just see like where else this could have gone. I cannot recommend this enough. Like I said, I'm hesitant to even recommend it to a lot of people, but if this sounds like something you might even enjoy, I would say pick it up and try it because it is really interesting. If you just have the time to sit with it for a little bit, I would recommend it. But just the relationship between them two and how Matthew was just at the center of everything and the fact that he knew it, he's just this arrogant person. The fact that he knew it, a person that's like 17 years old and can cause so much trouble and just know that they're doing it is something else. So, yeah, I would highly recommend this. So, then the last book that I want to talk about, I no longer have it anymore, but it is the one where it's like 2 different couples and 2 different families. Okay, so we have Playing Nice by J.P. Delaney. This is another adult mystery. This could almost probably be like an adult mystery thriller to a certain extent. So this one starts off with this guy named Pete, and he is at home one day, and this guy named Miles, and Miles's lawyer comes up to him and tells him that his son was switched at birth. And so Pete has just gotten the shock of his life knowing that his son is actually not his son. It is Miles' son, and Miles' son is actually Pete's son. And Miles actually kind of wants their sons switched back. The whole story is basically about whether or not these two couples want to switch their sons back or keep them and raise them as they have been and allow the families to be involved in each other's lives. We have some situations going on in this book. So both of these kids they were born prematurely. And so we have Pete and Maddie, their son Theo. He was born healthy, but Pete and Maddie have some other things going on in their marriage. There's some infidelity issues. They got some financial issues. There's some mental health issues. And then we have Miles and Lucy. So their son David was actually born with a lot of health issues. And so, but they are more financially stable, but they got some other issues going on. So they had a lot of issues going on with some nannies. There were some issues going on with Miles's job. So each of these couples have some things going on within their own families. And so, like I said before, they're trying to figure out one, what happened at the hospitals that allowed these kids to get switched. And there is some speculation that one of these parents from one of these households may have been involved with the switch. One of these families is really wanting these children switched back because there is some resentment that they are having to take care of a sick child when they shouldn't have to because it's not their biological child. So it's like some resentment there, and there's some discussion over, finances and who is better equipped to take care of a special needs child and whatnot. And there's a lot going on within these families. I ultimately gave it a 2 stars. I really liked the aspect of trying to figure out what they should do with the boys and the conversation of whether or not they should switch them back and like ethically what they should do, and then trying to figure out what happened at the hospital. I didn't like how predictable it got with one of the couples and just like the direction it got at the end, and how some of the stuff started to happen like off page and we didn't really get to see it, and it was just kind of told to us, and just happened like really fast toward the end. I wasn't really feeling that. But I did like the mixed media and how parts of the story was told to us. But I really liked the beginning of this story and just all of the drama with separately in between these families. Like both of these families had their own separate issues going on, and then trying to merge them together. I'm not sure that was the best idea. And then just trying to really figure out what they should do in terms of the boys and in terms of if they needed to be in each other's lives or if they even should have mentioned it to each other at all. Just like the ethics around all of that. I just really liked that conversation. Like I said, just did not care for the end of it. So I did give it a 2 stars. But this is the one where I said other people might really enjoy it. I think this one got a really high ratings on Goodreads, but I just did not care for the ending at all. If this sounds really good to you, I would definitely check this one out, but didn't really work for me in the end. But it does have a ton of drama within those two families. So those are the 5 books that I wanted to recommend to you guys. There's a lot of drama, a lot of mess. You can't get any better than that. All of these books, I have talked about them at some point on my channel, so I will have all those videos linked down below. I don't think that there was anything that I necessarily mentioned outside of what I've told you guys here today, but like I said, I will have those videos linked down below. I will definitely have the video linked down below where I recommended books about toxic or messy friendships. So that will also be linked down below. But besides that, that is all that I have for you guys, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.